can't forget that one of the issues with the bridge is when they built it, they had to sink these deep caissons so they could build up the anchorages for the bridge. And these caissons, because they were deep in the water, I think they went down like 100 feet or so or more, you had differences in air pressure in the caisson. And people, if they came out of the caisson too quickly, they got what they called this caisson's disease, or the bends, which could be fatal. That's because I guess when you change air pressure too quickly, your blood system can't handle it, and you get air bubbles in your system, and that can lead to embolisms and death. Not John, but Washington came away with was he actually got that disease and became confined to his house in Brooklyn, and then along came Emily, who was basically his chief inspector and engineer or whatever, and he would give her orders, and she'd go down, and she was running the job from his house in Brooklyn, and she was the one that saw the bridge through.
It's still a very male-dominated industry, and for her to tackle it at that time, it's just really impressive and really inspirational too. So I know all the girl engineers, any girl civil engineer has heard of Emily Roebling. So,
having said that, I just want to say that SIMCO, we've worked on the Brooklyn Bridge, and I'll just pass this out. This is a job we did. It's been finished now, but a few years ago, the city was they were rebuilding the approach lanes to the bridge and the ramps, and as the project was moving forward, they were experiencing traffic issues relative to cars getting around the construction. So our company was retained by the New York City Department of Transportation because our expertise is in traffic management and maintenance and protection of traffic. They hired us to look at the project and work with the contractor and the resident engineer and the city agencies to see how we could facilitate traffic movement during construction. And we modeled it with some fancy traffic models and predicted diversions to other facilities nearby because of delays and all this other great stuff, and came up with a plan how to manage the traffic during construction, which included doing a lot of the work on the weekends. The weekends traffic is less, so that theoretically, you can do more, you can shut things down on a regular basis, and then get the job done that much quicker. So we did that. We analyzed it. We made recommendations for traffic control issues, for weekend closures, and then we also worked with. And you've probably seen these electronic signs all over the place that say, traffic congestion and all that stuff. Well, there's an organization in the entire tri-state region. It's called Transcom, and they manage all those signs in the whole region. And as part of our work, we were recommending to Transcom that they change the messages on those signs on the weekends so people were aware that the bridge was closed, seek alternatives, that kind of thing. And we also worked for the placement of what they call the variable message signs, which are these big trailers that have they have messages written on them. You've probably seen them too. And they place them all over the lower Manhattan. And then the New York City Police Department has traffic enforcement agents that hand out tickets and direct traffic and all that. But we had 75 of them, which we had a position on the weekends to make sure traffic moved while they built the bridge. So that worked out very well, and that job is done now. But it was a lot of fun, that job.
And as far as the environment goes, a big thing with using environmentally friendly transportation methods is the safety and accessibility of those. So we do a lot of work trying to make bike paths be safe and be protected and make pedestrian walkways safe, because if you don't feel safe walking, you're going to drive.
As you probably know, there's a federal law called the Americans with Disabilities Act, okay? And what that says is that you have to provide folks that are elderly and handicapped the same opportunity as somebody that's just ambulatory walking around on the street. So that means you've got to, as we look at the situations for traffic safety and traffic operations, do we need pedestrian refuge islands for people who are crossing the street who may not be able to run across the street like you could do? I couldn't do it, but you need a place to stop to protect them when the light changes or something like that. Or pedestrian ramps at each of the curbs to make sure that if somebody's in a wheelchair or with a cane or something like that, that they can get onto the sidewalk without having to step up over the curb. Those kinds of things. So that's another area we get heavily involved in. Bus stops. We're always looking at how do you how do you integrate the bus stops into the transportation system. I guess the word is multimodal is the one we want to think about, where you get the buses, you get the cars, the taxis, the Ubers, people on bicycles, get everybody, you try to accommodate everybody in a comprehensive transportation network.
How do you think bridge inspections have changed from when the Brooklyn Bridge was built to now? And this includes the methods, accessibility, and time management for building and making, altering the bridge.
It's a federal law that every bridge in the country has to be inspected once every 2 years. It's called biennial bridge inspections. There's different levels of bridge inspections. Start with the biennial bridges, where people go out to the trained inspectors go out to the bridge and they look at the major structural elements of the bridge and they give them a rating. In New York State, I think the rating's from 0 to 7. If it's 0, close the bridge. If it's 7, it's like brand new. But usually, depending on the age of the bridge, it could be 4, 5, 6, that kind of thing. So that what that does is that feedback from the biennial inspections for each bridge goes into a huge data bank, a database, which the state can use to program repairs to bridges throughout the region.
I've been the safety inspector on some construction, small scale construction sites last summer, and people don't want to listen to any type of safety instructor in general because they're like, just let me do this, inspector. And so thinking of her as a woman going and having to get the respect back then when no one really wants to listen in general, even if you are a man, they don't want to listen to you. So they just want to do what they think. Everyone has their own opinion on what they think is right. So I don't know. It's really exciting that you guys are going to kind of bring some light to someone who really faced so much opposition and helped be a part of something really incredible. I don't know. My civil engineering class was mostly females. So I think that the whole industry is changing and people aren't as scared of construction girls aren't as scared of construction as they maybe used to be. And I think also just getting more interested in general, having I don't know, I think of Legos. I never played with Legos, but I know my little cousin is playing with Legos and I'm really excited about that because she could be an engineer too.
It's nice to see you accomplish something. The first design job I worked on when I got out of school was replacement of a bridge over on the Whitestone Expressway. And that's many years ago, back in the early 80s. And I remember everything I had to go through to get put the design documents together, work with the structural engineers, and put the project out to bid. It got constructed. And to this day, when I drive over that darn bridge, I say to myself, gee, I remember that bridge. And
I live right there.
Do you do?
When I went to school, I started taking some math courses to I was going to be a film major and I wanted to have a STEM minor and really liked them and then just dove into that and I was a mechanical engineering major and then realized pretty quickly the difference between mechanical and civil is they're so different and I really liked the project that civil engineers do and how they have a really awesome opportunity to help people infrastructure wise and I think that infrastructure in America needs a lot of help, but infrastructure worldwide is so below where it needs to be. So you really have not a very tangible way that you can help people, and just building. I built a few bridges in Panama, where people had no access to school because the rivers would flood during the rainy season, and the kids couldn't get to school. So there's just such a tangible way you can help people in civil engineering, and that's what really drew me in and kept me here. So it's just really cool to have a very tangible representation of your work when in a lot of other fields it's not quite as tangible and that's something that I personally really enjoy.